I want to introduce you all to Rainee Busby, who's on to join us today at Mays Business School for the full-time MBA and MS Business special guest speaker lunch series. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce her right now. Rainee Busby is the founder and guide to operational excellence, formerly known as Focal Fusion. Rainee is a seasoned leader and entrepreneur who has spent her career working with business and organizations of various sizes and across many industries to achieve and sustain operational excellence. She brings unique, innovative solutions to her clients while leveraging her expertise in business management, operations, systems, and people strategy. She also leverages a powerful yet simple business management system called EOS, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, Entrepreneurial Operating System, which builds a solid foundation necessary to grow a successful business. She is continually sharpening her skills as one of more than 330 plus professionally trained EOS implementers across the world who come together on a quarterly basis to learn and share their experiences and best practices. Her expertise combined with EOS is a game changer for her fast-growing clients. And Rainee's with us today. Rainee, why don't you actually start off by just telling everyone where exactly you are right now?
So I got the call. We were inward, so we have an RV, so that's kind of part of the wonders of running your own practice and being a flexible entrepreneur. So I just delivered in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, one of my real estate investment clients, and we're on the way to Memphis for one of our private equity clients. So yeah, it's fun stuff. And so we just pulled over into the Love's parking lot, so I made sure I didn't lose any connectivity, and fluffed up my hair and got ready to see you all. So thanks for having me, and sorry to hear Tom was sick, but you know, Tom and I, we work so well together. I've covered for him before in the family emergencies, so we didn't miss a beat, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So would you like me to go ahead and get started?
Yes, please. Thank you, Rainee, so much for being here too. Dr. Mahajan, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to welcome Rainee to talk to our students. We are very much looking forward to it. And I must congratulate Richard for finding a replacement for Tom so quickly, and such a wonderful replacement. So compliments to you, Richard, and welcome, Rainee. We are very much looking forward to hearing what you have to say and enlightening our students as well. Thank you for being here and welcome.
Thank you, absolutely. So I've got a few slides I'm going to share to help us kind of walk through, and my objective today is going to be to give you a high-level understanding of the entrepreneurial operating system and how it kind of works in businesses. So I'll paint the picture of what a great business looks like. So just to kind of start out a little bit about my background, in addition to what Richard mentioned, is I've been an entrepreneur for about 15 years. So I get it. I've, you know, went through the trials and tribulations of being an entrepreneur. It's not easy. Running a business is not easy. You know, many times, especially younger folks, you know, they want to start their own business, but where do you begin? So there's a couple different options, and I love helping develop young people. I'm very passionate about that. I love when the light bulb comes on when we've got an entrepreneur that gets it, and they all of a sudden see that there's hope, because a business can take over your life if you're not careful. And that's one of the things about EOS, is that you get control of your business back. And I have worked with businesses, probably over 40 of them, just working on this model. So I've had this practice for about the last 5 years. My background really ranges anywhere from numerous leadership positions, but I know you're all familiar with waste management. So I ended up in Houston as a managing director, turning around the waste management company. 4.5 years of crazy. And I have done a lot of startups and a little bit of everything in between. So this model was really attracted me to the point that it's simple. It reduces complexity. Humans love complexity. Things do not have to be hard. We need to make it simpler as leaders and managers. And so the nice part about this tool is that it starts with execution skills, and it really doesn't cause a lot of, you know, distractions in your business. It just comes natural, and you're going to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can follow through, and I'm just going to kind of leave it on. I'm not going to do a fancy display thing so it doesn't cause any interruption. So you should be able to see it okay. Everybody good? Okay. All right. So the Entrepreneurial Operating System was developed about 20 years ago. A guy named Gino Wickman developed it. He started, he used to run a CEO roundtable and just fell in love with just the whole science behind business. And so he framed this model, and there is nothing in this model that hasn't been around and proven for hundreds of years. So it's nothing new. It's just the way that he packaged it together that helps it to integrate the key functions of any business. It's got a set of tools with it as well. This is not a software package. So this is, even though we do have packages to manage the tool, this is really a model and more of a framework. With the objective is to build a solid foundation for your business. So when we talk about the EOS model, we say it's real. There's no concepts and theories here. This is practical, proven. It's simple. You got to make tough decisions though, right? So sometimes things can get a little hard, but it delivers results and delivers the quickly. This is really focused for those small entrepreneurial businesses, about 10 to 250 employees that want to grow. They're on a fast track growth. And for every business, you're going to, as you're growing, about every 3 to 5 years, you're going to hit a ceiling. And that means what got you here is not going to get you there. So you have to do things differently. So this tool makes that ceiling to be just a little bump in the road, and you just continue your growth cycle. So that's pretty cool stuff. There we have implemented as an EOS implementer, so I am a certified level. That's the highest level you can be. We've implemented at over 8,800 companies, but I will tell you that there are many, many companies. We estimate about 80,000 companies that have self-implemented, which means they have taken some of these tools, they read the book Traction, and they started implementing it in their business. And it helps. It's not as, it's not as powerful as you have someone from the outside looking in, but it definitely works. In my roundtable that I run, I have a Rice MBA student. I know who, but he was like, talk to me about what's this book, what's this model. He had just started his business a couple of years ago, was really struggling. And he's a smart guy. And I just spent a couple hours with him and coached him and said, here's what you need to do, and here's how this works. And he implemented the whole thing by himself. And his business is hitting some of the highest kind of milestones and thresholds, even with COVID-19. So he didn't miss a beat. He just kept restructuring and moving it and was looking at things differently. So I think it's important to understand the value of this. My young leaders, they embrace this model because it focuses on understanding why are we doing what we're doing, how each person contributes, and really understanding their ability to drive change in a business. So it's a very clear lineage. It's not something that, well, I hope I'm doing the right thing. Most business owners deal with 5 key frustrations. They don't have control of their business. They don't have any profitability. Just because you make a lot of revenue, you have to have some money at the end of the day. And I can't begin to tell you how many entrepreneurs I've spoke to who don't pay themselves. They haven't paid themselves in several years. That's wrong. You should not even be in business if that's the case. People challenges, can't find the right people, can't get them to be accountable, hitting the ceiling I already talked about, and they keep trying different things and nothing's working. So just to kind of give you a perspective, this I hear time and time again, no matter what industry, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit. I work with churches, all those kind of things, and they love this model. So I'm going to quickly run through the 6 key components. Any business that is able to obtain at least 80% strength in each one of these key components will be unstoppable. And even through COVID-19, the success stories that we have heard is just phenomenal. So it's really proven the value of what we drive with business. So vision means to get everybody in the organization 100% laser focused. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And most importantly, how each and every employee contributes to executing towards that vision. We have to have great people, whether you call them your A players, your high potentials, high performers. Great people are necessary to be able to also execute to the vision. And then we have to have real factual information to make decisions. We can't use what is, assumptions, or we think. And that's typically how business happens. Issues are good things. These are ideas, opportunities, obstacles, frustrations, anything that we need to tee up and prioritize and solve as a leadership team. Then we have processes. Processes are our way of doing business. High level, 6 to 10, you have a people process, you have a sales process, marketing. It's just a standard. Here are the steps that we take every time we deliver that product or that service. And then finally, traction. That's your execution. A lot of companies are good at putting plans together, but when it comes to making a reality, they struggle. So you have to break that down and make sure that we're executing each and every goal within that one-year plan. So I'm going to take a step and drop into each one of those quickly, explain to you a little bit more details, and then how this model works. So the first piece is the vision. We have a 2-page strategy document. So this is not 30, 40, 50. This is not a business plan. 2 pages. It's broken down by 8 questions. Those questions, so this whole document, we encourage a very transparent organization, which means everybody needs to see this document. They need to understand it so that they can help us go head in that direction. It's just like playing the game of business. Everybody's got to be on the field. They need to know the position they're accountable for. They need to know their success stats, and they need to know what the team is working towards. So those 8 questions, pretty straightforward. Core values, that's who we are. That's how we behave. That's how we treat each other. That's how we work together. This is not the lip service core values that you hear. We actually teach people to implement them into the fabric of their organization so that everybody that's like-minded can come together and have that kind of connection. And then we have a core focus. A core focus is what's your why. Many of you have heard of Simon Sinek. I'm sure you've studied him. The why, what's our purpose, cause, or passion? It's not money. There's a higher calling. What is that footprint that we leave? And then what is our niche? What do we do exactly? Because you try to be all things to all people, you will fail. And I've talked to so many entrepreneurs that ended up heading down that path, and it's very dangerous. A strong niche enables you to attract people because you're recognized. That's your brand. A 10-year target. Big, this is Jim Collins, big, hairy, audacious, crazy goal. Throw it out there. Look 10 years in the future, could be revenue, could be tangible and intangible values. And then the marketing strategy. So we need to capture what does our perfect target market look like? Demographics, where are they? Geographics, and what's important to them in that buying decision? Are they looking for value? Are they looking for price? Are they looking for partnerships? There's something that's going to entice them to do business with you. And then we also identify what are the 3 uniques that we bring to the market that our competitors don't, because it's going to help them in understanding the thought process in that buying decision once again. And there could be some guarantees, there could be some leave behind. So it's really a high level marketing strategy. You should have a complete strategic plan behind the scenes. Then we start to do the vision planning. So we say, okay, close our eyes, let's look into the future 3 years and paint that picture. 10 to 15 bullet points. We capture revenue, profitability, and other measurables, but really understanding what if we could describe it, what does it look like? Our objective, this is a huge retention tool for your key employees because you want them to be able to see themselves in that picture in 3 years. So we're got robust employee benefits. We have a strong culture, and our core values are front and center. All those kind of things are very enticing. So then you say, okay, if that's us in 3 years, how do we start to march towards that vision? That's the 1-year plan, very traditional 1-year plan, revenue, profitability, and measurables. We define 5 to 7 SMART goals. These are the things we need to do this year to head towards that 3-year picture. This is where most companies fail. They put the plan together, they pull it out about 3 quarters later to see how they're doing. Not so well. So we have what we call rocks. These are, think of them kind of mini project plans. The most important things you need to be working on to execute towards that plan. So we literally start with each goal. The first goal, look at it. What do we need to do this next 90 days to move that towards completion by the end of the year? Every single goal. So it's every quarter you get in this cadence of making sure that you're going through this process. And then we also capture long-term issues. Anything we don't want to forget about, but we don't want to worry about this quarter. So it keeps us focused and reduces those distractions. The next key component is people. We have to have right people and they have to be in the right seat. Those are 2 key pieces. So when we talk about right people, we're talking about core values. Do they think like us? Do they behave like us? Do they fit in? People that don't fit into core values will chip away at your core values to make them their own. So this is a very important piece. We hire for core value fit, and then we understand that person's unique abilities. What are the strengths that they bring? Are they detailed, creative people, analytical people? And then understanding those strengths, we want to put them in a role where it just comes natural to them. This is how you increase employee engagement. This is how you really bring people to the table who just love what they do. And that's hard to find nowadays. A lot of people just go through life doing a job that they may not like. So a couple of the tools that are key in the people component, and this is usually the biggest struggle that I hear from business owners, is that we can't get our people to be accountable. Well, you're not going to build a foundation of accountability until you put certain tools and set expectations and hold people accountable. So you'll see here, this is an example of accountability chart. Looks a lot like and I have a semi out here, looks a lot like an org chart, but it's not. And an org chart drives nothing but dysfunction. Titles drive dysfunction. So we don't talk about org charts, we don't talk about titles. What we do is define those functional roles. So you see sales and marketing, that's a role. There's a person in that role that is ultimately accountable for that function. We also define in each one of those boxes the 5 to 7 areas of responsibility, so that it's very clear what that role is accountable to, and that that person also is very clear. So you notice these 2 boxes at the top, visionary and integrator. A visionary, these are very different roles. It's kind of a yin and a yang. Some of your most successful companies, Disney, Walt Disney, Ford Motor Company, they had a visionary, they're face of the community. They come up with all the great ideas. They're the brand. They're also the relationship people. Behind the scenes is the integrator, because if you let a visionary run your business, it's going to be like the flavor of the day. They're changing about every 60 days because they like to follow shiny objects, a little squirrel chasing maybe. And so what we want to do is be able to take those maybe 2, 3 really good ideas, and the integrator takes those ideas and integrates it across the organization. So they're kind of like a chief operating officer, more or less. They hold everybody below them accountable. This is not a reporting structure. It's basically, I need you to do what you committed to do. And if not, then we need to have a conversation about that. So the accountability chart will give you visibility, and it helps you grow as well. So we like to look 6 to 9 months out into the future to say, what are some of those roles we're going to need to fill? Because as a leader, you need to focus on delegating things you should not be working on. As you grow, the delegation into those new roles is going to be critical, because we need you to elevate yourself so that you can be a more effective leader and manager. So this is an example of one of the boxes. So whatever function, it could be an engineer, it could be HR, but we ask each person, we say, do you get the job? Do you understand how to do the job? Do you want the job? Do you show up excited, ready to go, or are you watching the clock for 5 o'clock so you can leave? And then do you have the capacity to do this job? And when we say capacity, it's kind of mentally, physically, just spiritually, but most important, time. Do you have the time to do a great job? As an entrepreneur, you are going to have a bunch of hats on your head. And you got to start thinking about what are one or two of those hats I need to start peeling off, because I'm spread so thin, I can't focus where I need to provide the most value. That's hard to do. Delegation is one of the hardest tasks for a leader, but it can be the most critical in avoiding that hitting the ceiling. This is an example of a tool. Now, all these tools are Microsoft Office. So you got a Word, Excel, PowerPoint. That's it. So this is a people analyzer. You see at the top here, humbly confident, grow or die, help first. These are all core values. These are EOS core values that I live by, and I love them, embrace them. What you do is you put your employees' names along this left-hand column, and then you ask yourself, so does Sally exhibit those core values of, let's say, humbly confident? Plus is most of the time, plus minus is about half the time, and minus is seldom. And then we set a bar, and any employee that's not at or above bar, then we have a performance conversation. We help them to understand these are our core values. If it's not a fit for you, we totally understand it, and we encourage you to find a company that does have core values that align to you. We do the same thing with the get it, want it capacity. It's a yes or no. Do you get the job? Do you want the job? And do you have the capacity? And so it's a very simple way. You don't have to do assessments and all that to know, do I have people that fit my culture? Are they the right people? And do I have them in a seat that they just love and they can flourish and really contribute as much as we can get out of them? So that's the people component. And then we drop into data. Data is also usually a pretty weak spot if for most of my clients or prospects that I speak to. Well, yeah, we have our P&L. Well, this is not P&L. That's lagging indicator data. What I need you to focus on is leading indicator activity that will drive those results. So if you hear of people that are doing a lot of firefighting, like everybody's running around, hair's on fire, and it's crazy, it's because they're not focusing on activity that enables them to capture the problem when it's a glowing ember and solve it right away. So we look at a scorecard, and this is basically weekly activity-based numbers. Who owns it? What is the measurable? What's our targeted goal? And then every week we're tracking it. And then they come into a level 10 meeting, which is a leadership meeting once a week, and they have to say in front of their peers, are you on track or off track with your number? And if you're off track, do you have it to get it back on track next week, or do you need help from the leadership team? So this is the accountability. They can't just kind of skim by and say, oh, sorry, we missed our revenue numbers. This could be pipeline. It could be scrap. You know, it could be customer complaints, all kinds of different opportunities to drive the scorecard. I like to tell people what's the difference between a practice game and a real game in sports. It's your scoreboard, right? This is our scoreboard. This is how we're going to show that we're driving results and making things happen. Each employee, when you looked at that accountability chart, each one of those boxes have 1 to 3 metrics that knows they did a great job. So everybody in the company has measurables that support this company's success. So when one of those numbers fall, we get in there, we figure out what's going on, we get them back on track, and then we move forward. So this enables a lot of autonomy within a workforce. They have numbers they know they need to hit. They can approach things however they want, and everybody wins in the end. Here's some examples of some scorecard measurables as well. So you can see revenue, cash balance, important, cash is king, right? How many sales calls did I make this week? How many meetings did I have? So it's great to hold yourself accountable. So at this point, when we have clear vision, everybody understands where we're going, we have the best people to execute to that vision, and we have data to drive results, we have a pretty transparent organization. Anything and anyone that doesn't fit will start sticking out. That's the good and bad part of this tool. If you don't want to solve people problems, you don't want this tool in place, because it's going to be real clear who your underperformers are, and you're going to be encouraged, and I hold people accountable to taking action, because we can't enable and allow people to be in our organization that isn't pulling their weight and isn't contributing. So then I'm going to take you into the issues component. This is extremely powerful. There's issues, ideas, opportunities, obstacles everywhere. You just have to look for them. We're thinking about a new market. We dropped the ball. We got a customer complaint. Our shipment didn't get out in time. Why is that happening? We can't just pick up the ball and fix it. We fix a symptom. We need to fix the root cause. So this is very similar to root cause analysis. They use it a lot in the engineering field. So really asking questions. We use a model we call IDS. So we ask people to tee up your issues. I'll have some clients, I'll have 50, 60 issues, a whole list, flip charts. And I'll have them say, okay, prioritize 1, 2, 3. What are the most important issues we need to work on today? Because we cannot walk in that leadership meeting and start talking about top of mind or the call we just got off of or something that happened last week. We need to prioritize so that we focus and make the best use of that time. I'm going to talk to you about the level 10 meeting. It's the most powerful meeting. It's where all the magic happens. So we create the list, we prioritize that list, and we use a method we call IDS, identify, discuss, and solve. Identify the root cause, ask questions, discuss based on all the facts that we've collected, and I recommend doing this on a whiteboard. We review everything that we identified, discussed, and then we pick the 2 or 3 action items that's going to actually solve it once and for all. That's usually a weekly activity, or it could be a new rock, which is a priority, kind of a mini project. And you just keep working this through, and it is powerful. So you will solve these problems and won't keep coming back. The next piece is your processes. This is extremely weak in most businesses. They don't want to take the time to document the processes, but it's not fair to an employee who's expected to execute that process without having clarity in how they expect it to be consistently performed. One of the biggest challenges followed by all, because now we have to hold people accountable. So they can't decide to not follow process. They can't skip steps. We document, it's like, 3 to 4 pages, high level, bullet points, link into templates, link into a checkoff sheet. When you do a handoff from sales to operations, we need to make sure ops has all the information. Many times there's multiple people involved. There should be a checkoff sheet. There should be a process to make sure that handoff is clean. This is a key part. We use measurables to hold people accountable. If they're not following process, then we have a discussion around performance that needs to take place. So here's some of the examples of processes. High level, once again, 6 to 10 maybe. We have people process. We have a marketing process. We have a multiple operations process, customer retention. These are all standard processes in any business. And then we go down into the traction side of it. So when we talk about traction, this is the execution. That's how we make that vision reality. This is where all the accountability happens. So I talked to you about rocks, the most important things we need to work on. So a lot of times there's some confusion in what does it mean working on the business versus working in the business. When I'm in the business, I'm delivering my products and services. I'm running day-to-day operations. When I'm working on the business, I'm working on things that are going to move the business forward, new opportunities, new markets we should consider. Right? So that's two very different things. As your company grows and you elevate yourself, you need to be thinking about how much time do I spend working on my business? How much time do I spend working in my business? You want to increase the working on business as you grow your company. That's the thinking. That's the projecting. That's the really setting the vision. Here's where we're going, getting people aligned to that vision. That's where the magic happens. So that's usually a pretty key factor. Now I'm going to talk to you about the level 10 meeting. Okay, so if you've ever been in the meeting and you walk out of the meeting saying that was the biggest waste of time, I will never get those minutes back in my life. We did nothing but talk, and got nothing accomplished. So that's not a good way to go through life. We have what we call a level 10 meeting. Very simple. It bases on a range of 1 to 10. 10 is great. We want to have the best meeting we can every week. Now, this EOS model doesn't just stop at the leadership team. It goes through every single person in the organization. Everyone will be in some sort of level 10 meeting. So at the leadership level, we do about a 90-minute meeting. At the department level, it's about 30, 40 minutes, so not quite as much. And people say, I don't have time for meetings. Oh, really? How much time are you wasting on emails, phone calls, text messages, hallway conversations? I mean, it's all there. What if we could come into a room as a leadership team and spend an hour and a half, and we all know where we are with our metrics, we know where we are with our rocks, we've shared headlines, we're all ready to hit the ground running. That's powerful. That is a game changer. I've had leadership teams where leaders will come into this meeting and they're not hitting their scorecard numbers, they're not getting their rocks done, and they end up self-selecting out because they don't like the pressure. Accountability is not for everyone. So if they don't like accountability, they don't want to work for an EOS company because it's not going to be fun for them at all. And so here's the agenda. And of course, any of these tools that you want, I'm happy to send you. We give everything away free. We just encourage people to change in the world one small business at a time. So the very first step is good news. So we've got people in a room, share good news, personal and professional. I've had leaders that have worked together for 20 years and never knew some of the information, like about their family or what they love to do. And so you want to share your good news, 5 minutes collectively, not each. So this is pretty quick round robin. I want you to notice those first 5 segments of the meeting, 5 minutes collectively, and 25 minutes we know everything that's going on across the organization. we are ready then to go into issue processing. So back to the top, we share our good news, round robin around the table real quick, and then we go into the scorecard. Each person says, my measurement, 1, 2, 3, my goal is 5. I'm either on track or off track. If they're off track, the facilitator would ask, do you have it, or do you need to drop it down to the issues list so that we can help you solve it? And so that happens consistently. We don't let someone be off track week after week. 5 minutes collectively, we drop down to the next one. Let's go through our rock review. Everybody has about 5 to 7 rocks. You have department rocks, anything that's important for this leadership team to kind of keep their finger on. And they go through the rocks and they say, okay, rock ABC, are you on track or off track? And the next rock, on track or off track. This could be, we need to select a new CRM system and get it implemented. What are we going to do specifically? So we have to define those tasks so that we know we're on track to be finished by the end of the quarter or whenever our due date is. Then we kind of get into the people headlines. This is an opportunity to share anything going on with our people. It could be our customers, our clients. This is an opportunity to share any of those headlines to get everybody kind of up to speed. And the next piece is the to-do list. This is also a very critical piece of this meeting agenda. A to-do is a 7-day action item. So an example is I was in the meeting last week and I said, you know what, I'll reach out to Sally and I'll get a copy of that report and I'll share it with the leadership team. And then I'll also set up an additional meeting, right? So I walk out of the meeting and I've got my to-do action items. I show up the next week, oh, totally forgot about that. It happens all the time. Now what we do is when I committed to getting a report from Sally and setting up that meeting, it goes on this issues, the to-do list. So I know that when I come in the meeting next week, I'm going to be expected to be done. So you done or you're not done? And if I'm not done, then there's a little bit of, really? Why were you not done? Did you have too much going on? This is the to-do came from solving one of our most important issues. Now all of a sudden you have more important things going on than the issues we solved as a company, as a leadership team. So your objective is to close out 90% of those every week, and we're held accountable to doing that. Okay, so at this point, 25 minutes in, you're down to the IDSing. IDSing is a list of all the issues, any new issues we need to add. Then we prioritize 1, 2, 3. We tee up the first one. We go up to the whiteboard. We say, okay, let's identify the root of that issue. So here's a good example. So somebody showed up at the job site. They didn't have all the tools and supplies in their truck. So why did they not have the tools and supplies? Well, we don't really know for sure. Okay, so do we have a process document? Well, yes, we do. Okay, so were they trained on the process? Yes, they were. Is there a checkoff sheet in place? Yes, there was. So it's not a process problem. It's actually a people problem. That person chose not to follow our process. And so about 99% of the time, it's a people or process issue. And so that's just a good example to help you understand. IDS could be, I'm working on my rocks and I need the leadership team to make a decision. So I'd like to have 5 minutes on the floor so that I can present my case and get a decision. It could be sharing information, solving issues, fleshing out opportunities. And then at the end of that, we conclude. 5 minutes left. We start on time, we end on time. So if someone's not in the room, that's also a big, kind of negative mark against them, because when you're not in the room on time, what happens is you've got 6 other high-paid people waiting for you. Shame on you, because that's money, ching, 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 and that's disrespectful as well. Not acceptable. We conclude. How did we do? Any cascading messages we need to send out, any decisions made today we need to let people know. And then we rate the meeting. How did we do? And each person rates it. On a score of 1 to 10, how did we collectively do it as a leadership team? And then we track those numbers and we hold ourselves accountable to getting better and sustaining that performance. Powerful, powerful stuff in the level 10 meeting. So this is the last slide, and I'm just going to take you back to the model so you can kind of pull it all back together. And you see there's nothing complex about this. This is basic stuff, all proven. We got a vision. We need to get everybody 100% laser focused. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And how each individual employee contributes. I always look at the game of business. We got people on the field playing. We got people on the bench. We got folks in the bleachers, and some of them aren't even in the park. That's sad, and we can't allow that to happen. So we got to get people on the field playing a game accountable. People, we have to have awesome, great people that get it. They fit our culture. We have them in the best seat for their skills and their strengths to be able to help us execute to that vision. A leader, an owner cannot do it themselves. We need to have everybody firing on all cylinders. The data, we have to have data to make real business decisions. We can't go through life assuming that we've made the right decision unless we have the facts. And that by having that leading indicator, activity-based data, that'll give us the facts to be able to make the right decisions and also to prevent catastrophes, forest fires, all the crazy that goes on in the day-to-day business. We come down to the issues. Issues are ideas, opportunities, obstacles, anything holding us back, any decisions we need to make, things we need to focus on so that we can keep moving the business forward. Processes, that's our way of doing business. 6 to 10 core processes, get them documented. Most importantly, hold people accountable to following our processes. If we had everybody doing things differently, it's a big giant mess, a lot of stress, and causes many of those frustrations. And then finally, traction, which is the execution. That's how we make that vision reality. We bring it down and we set it up to get executed, and we just continue this process. So when I work with a client, and most of my clients in many different industries, doesn't matter, we start out with 3 days of implementation. So we teach execution skills day 1. So I teach you how to do that meeting. We do our first pass of our scorecard. We set our first group of rocks. I talk to them about hitting the ceiling, and we redesign the company through the accountability chart. So it's a big 2-3 hour exercise, moving boxes around until we feel we have a good solid foundation. That's the very first day. And we have a 30-day gap. And then I go back to that first day to fine tune those execution skills. And then we start building out that 2-page strategy document that had those 8 questions. So we'll get to about question 3 or 4, another 30-day gap. I go back to the very first day, fine tune any additional execution skills. And then we finish that vision traction organizer, which is the 8 questions. At that point, they're completely implemented. Then I only meet with them once a quarter to give them that quarterly cadence, because every quarter you got to do reset rocks. How did we do last quarter? What are we going to do different this quarter? Executing to our plan. And so we teach things like leadership management and accountability, because you have to be a good leader and a good manager to drive accountability. You can't be one or the other, right? We talk about cash flow, so I do some cash flow driver training. So all those kind of things are sprinkled in there. We do a 2-day annual somewhere along the path. And then at some point, and usually about 2 years, my clients are ready to graduate. I want them to graduate. I want them to learn how to do it themselves so that I can go help another company. So I run about 20 clients at any one time. That's a fabulous, fabulous practice. It enables me to do what I love, and that's just helping people grow their businesses, and I change people's lives. That's really what I do. This is my passion, and I get an opportunity to not only change the lives of the owner and the leadership team, but every single employee, that employee's family, and the community that they live in. That's cool stuff. So if you can ever, at some point in your life, find an opportunity for that niche, then you will have found your own personal purpose, which is powerful as well. So that is the presentation. I'd like to open it up to question and answers.
First of all, that was awesome, Rainee. In fact, I had a few people say that was one of the best presentations yet. And that's believe me, pretty big company. If you know some of the people that have been on this thing, you can certainly substitute anytime.
You just let me know. Thank you so much.
I want to know your secret though. How on earth in such a short time you got Texas A&M University on that first slide? That was impressive.
That's why I was 4 minutes late joining you at 11:45.
That was impressive. Anyways, so this is a great time. If you've got a question, you can put it in the chat box and I can ask Rainee for you. Or if you'd like, you can also raise your virtual hand and I will go ahead and unmute you and you can ask Rainee yourself. So any questions out there? I did want to also earlier, Dr. Mahajan, I wanted to briefly, just to quickly introduce, Arvind is actually the Associate Dean for the Graduate Programs Office. And he was the one who welcome you earlier. I should have introduced him, but then I want to cut you off.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's quite all right. That was a wonderful presentation. May I suggest that we minimize the PowerPoint slide so that everyone can see everyone on the screen?
Yes, good recommendation. There we go.
That's excellent.
Yes.
All right, great. So any questions for Rainee? I know I've got some entrepreneurs in the house. I'm sure they might want to chime in. I managed to invite both Blake Petty and Laura Lee Hughes from the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship, and I saw that they were both on. I'm not sure if they're still on, but they might have a comment or two as well. JP McGill was very instrumental. He's on here. He's one of our MBA advisory board members. He was instrumental in helping me get Tom on originally. So I'm not sure if you want to chime in, JP. I see you're still on. Oh, here's one question from Ryan Beeson. What are the most difficult organizations to implement the EOS system?
That's an easy answer. So any organization that's more of a command and control, like it's my way or the highway, all decisions are made by the owner. They don't have a leadership team in place. If they do, they don't respect those leaders. Those leaders don't really have a vote in which direction we go in. So they really have to be a healthy organization, a healthy leadership team. They have to be willing to be vulnerable and open and honest. They also have to want to change, because this is a huge paradigm shift. This is so different than how they've ever run their business. And it's not going to happen overnight. You know, we're all for those in the kind of the Houston area, the big ship channel, right? You got one of those huge ships. If you've ever watched them turn the ship in the ship channel, it takes a long time. That's the business as well. So it takes patience, but it also takes the willingness to want to do something different, and for an owner to kind of let go of the company, let go of that control, focus on where they can provide the value. That's really the best companies. And nonprofits as well. So, I mean, I have a church in Waco and they are blowing it out of the park. It's crazy how awesome they are with this model.
Another question. Since most entrepreneurs are visionaries, how important is the implementer? Who plays that role? And is it internal or external? And that's actually coming from JP McGill.
Okay. Hi, JP. You and I have met before. When you think about an implementer, so I'm an implementer, I'm an EOS implementer. And sometimes we get the implementer and the integrator a little confused. So you've got the visionary ideas. If you ever worked for a visionary company, they're shifting all over the place. The integrator, this is both in-house, so think of this chief operating officer type of a person, protects the organization from the visionary, right? Visionary has lots of great ideas, but they're also a little ADD. They're all over the place, shiny objects. We can't allow them to cause the shifting in the business, which happens. And so as an implementer, I hold the owner, the visionary, the integrator accountable to doing what they need to do to implement this model. And I teach them how to build a really strong relationship, that visionary and that integrator, so that they don't miss a beat. They're ticking and tying. So you can implement this yourselves. I mean, I have a young lady that I talked to just the other day, and I spent like 2-3 hours with her, and she's like, oh my God, this has changed my business considerably. And all I did was spend time with her, told her, go to my website. It's raineebusby.com. There's a resource page. You can download free chapters of books. There's free ebooks. I'll send you templates. But you know, it's you can do it yourself. It's not as effective. Having a third-party person on the ground, because I work in front of the room, I'm on the whiteboard, there's no technology, this is just all brain power. That's powerful because you can't see the things that you're too close to. But I can see them because I also share best practices with all the different clients that I've worked with. And I have a huge, very powerful network. So if my entrepreneurs need a new payroll provider or a new accountant or what have you, I make introductions. I'm a huge connector. Love, love, love that, because I, once again, get to help people come together. And those are people that I've vetted, and I know that they'll take care of my clients as well as I do.
Excellent. Ron Brandt, another one of our full-time MBA advisory board members, asks, what are the most common stumbling blocks in the implementation process?
So So I especially see this in older companies. They've been around for 20, 30 years. So one of the things I do when I go into a client, if I have a set of toys, these are little squishy toys. I know it sounds goofy. I have an elephant for the elephant in the room that we don't want to talk about, that we've been skirting around for years now. I have a cow, spotted cow. This is a sacred cow. This is someone that we love. They've been with us forever, but we don't have a position for them. So we can't keep moving them around and paying them just to be there and look lovely. I have a horse. So this is for somebody that's politicking, kicking that dead horse, soapbox, said it 3 times. We only hear it once. And then I have a bull. So somebody that's being a bully, right? And then I have a little squirrel. So usually the visionary picks that up, so I'll just put it in front of me. So you can kind of toss it at each other to help with those difficult conversations, because we have to tee them up and we have to solve them. We can't keep avoiding the conversation. So I help kind of take the sting out of it a little bit. And I think that's probably the biggest part of it, is making the decision, what do we do about our sacred cow that we love so much? But we're running a business, we're not running a nonprofit. And I tell them that. I'm pretty straightforward. I put it out. They hear what they need to hear. I let them know I love and care about you guys, but I become a member of their leadership team. So I put real skin in the game. I charge a session fee for the full day, and it's 100% guarantee. So at the end of the day, if you don't believe I have provided the value throughout the entire journey, you don't pay me and we walk away friends, no contracts. So I put real skin in the game. So I am truly committed to the growth and success of their business.
That's great. I'm so happy that our colleagues from the McFerrin Center of Entrepreneurship were able to join us, because they do some amazing things over there. Actually, Blake has a question for you. Blake is our executive director of the McFerrin Center. He asks, we deal with many organizations that pre-launch 1 to 10 employees. How early would you advocate for implementing EOS strategies?
Pre-launch 1 to 10 employees. Is it starting a startup company? Is that kind of? Hopefully, no, I can't ask. So I'm going to.
Blake, do you want to just unmute yourself and ask?
Sure. Thanks, Rainee. Yeah. So if we're dealing with at pre or at launch companies, we're talking about very earliest stages. I realize that the entire system is probably not right for them, but when would you start to implement some of these strategies?
Okay. Yeah. So I work with smaller companies and just coaching them. I run roundtables, those kind of things. I encourage them to start immediately, right? If nothing else, just summarize. So one of the things you'll go through is say, hey, we need to create a business plan so we can get funding, whatever that is. And what I encourage people to do, yeah, that's great, but let's come up with this 2-page strategy document so it's summarized so that we can always kind of keep it front and center. There's no reason. I mean, I have myself and an assistant. I use the level 10 meeting every week. I have the vision traction organizer set up. We have rocks that we're held accountable to. We use the whole thing, and I use it in our personal life as well. So it helps. I have clients that I have a personal version. They use it in their family. So if you have kids and, the kids aren't doing, like taking out the garbage, they do straighten up your room, make your bed. I mean, it's powerful. And now the kids have a voice, right? So they're like, well, this is kind of cool. So now I can say I didn't do that because, and so it's really, it's always the right time. This model is made for those 10 to 250 employee businesses, privately held. But I will tell you that I have businesses well over $100 million in revenue, several hundred employees. We have corporations, so it works really anywhere, but that's kind of our sweet spot.
I can already see the implementation of that into the personal lives. How bad do you want to play Fortnite?
Absolutely.
That's great. All right. Ryan Beeson asks another question. What do you about a family-owned? Sorry, the way in which this is worded. What do you do, I guess, about a family-owned business refuses to actually deal with succession planning? What do you do when, I guess?
Oh, I work with a lot of family-owned businesses. So, well, that's always fun, right? So there's the challenge. What I typically see is dad is talking about, or mom talking about, hey, I want to retire. I want to go on vacation for a couple months. I want to start backing out of the business. What they say and what they do are two very different things, and you can't make them do that. So one of the things in that accountability chart, I put a box at the upper right-hand side, and it's called the owner's box, because that owner still needs to know that they have some sort of a role. It could be similar to a board of director or just kind of a bit of an oversight. But what we need to do is identify all the boxes, all those roles that they're in right now, and start to get them out of those boxes and get someone in the box that can perform that function. And so it's really a process of just keep moving them. Maybe they're the visionary, so we're going to get them in that visionary box, and then eventually we're going to move them over to the owner's box. That moves them out of the organization. If they're looking to sell their business, I will tell you, I work with several business brokers, private equity companies. They will tell you that the EOS model makes the sell of a business so much easier because it's very transparent, and you've got to get the owner out of the business, because if not, it's going to reduce the value of your business, because they now have to buy the owner, and then they have to figure out how to get them out of the business 1 or 2 years down the road. So family-owned businesses, the dynamics are difficult, but it's no different. They need to be held accountable just like everyone else. So if you got cousin Scott over here, he still needs to be accountable. So we can't let him to kind of slide. It's not fair to everybody else.
It's good advice. Oh, here we go. Finally have a student question, but let me ask you one quick one before who was on here already. Can you implement EOS within a business unit and not the entire organization, or is all in or out?
Absolutely. So for my investor clients, we actually have separate businesses. It's kind of the same thing. Or you could have maybe one leader who's running their own functional department, and they're like, I want to use the EOS tools. They may have come from a company that was already using EOS. And for someone to come into a company non-EOS, it's extremely frustrating for them. So we do have individual departments or functional areas within corporations that use the EOS model, and they love it. And what they're doing is showcasing, because people are going to start saying, why are you so successful? What are you doing over there? And then it just starts flowing across. There's unique ways that we capture things like core values should apply consistently. So there's some things that are going to be consistent, but yeah, absolutely works.
That's great. Rainee, you may have someone you might want to hire, an assistant. Dominique McDermott asks, from a mentoring standpoint, I am curious, how would I follow your path? What did you do to get where you are currently?
Oh, so baby boomer. So we work hard, right? Long hours. It's about getting lots of experience. To get in front of an entrepreneurial leadership team is tough. You need to know your stuff. You need to be able to be quick on your feet. They're going to throw lots of problems and questions at you, and you just have to be kind of thick-skinned. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. I know I don't know everything, but I know people who do. And so it's really just, you have to have practical experience. You have to be an entrepreneur to be able to teach an entrepreneur. I love coaching. I'm happy if you want to give me a call, jump on my calendar. I love coaching. I'm happy to share any experiences. I said the young people embrace this model because it's so powerful and it's realistic. My website, raineebusby.com. Email's real easy, rainee@raineebusby.com. So yeah, reach out to me. Happy to give you other guidance, but it's just road of hard knocks. You got to put your time in.
I want to remind everyone too that the recording will be available soon on our YouTube channel, assuming Rainee's fine with that. We tend to put everything there, and I know a few people have already reached out to me privately and asked to see it again and so forth. So I'll make sure that everyone in a few days that'll be available. Any other questions? We've got 5 more minutes. Been a very useful presentation, Rainee, for sure.
Yeah, must did a good job. That's awesome. Well, I encourage any of you. I will tell you, here's a little nugget for you. I like lots of nuggets. So Gino Wickman, who developed this model, sold out almost all of his equity. He kept some a couple years ago to a private equity group. He's now launching a new practice. It's called LEAP, and it has to do with, so you think you want to be an entrepreneur, huh? And he uses the same concept and approach with the EOS model as he does with LEAP. And so you can Google, he's got his book out. He just started his practice probably a year ago. And everybody, I give books away all the time. And so I give Gino's book away. And everybody that reads it, they're like, I love this book. So for those who are thinking about being an entrepreneur, or you already are an entrepreneur, and you're like, maybe I am not in the right role for me, because there's a lot of risk involved. You have to take on a lot of responsibility. You have to be willing to step into the danger, and that's not for everybody. So it's called Leap by Gino Wickman. So there's my nugget for the day.
That's awesome. Anyone else? Well, this has been really great, Rainee. Thank you so much, especially under the circumstances. It was awesome. Just really appreciate you joining us at Mays Business School today. Good luck on your trip.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sounds exciting, especially during this very, kind of interesting period.
Yes, for sure. That's the advantage of having an RV. You don't have to get on an airplane. But
Sure.
I love speaking, love doing this. So any other opportunities, don't hesitate to reach out. It's just my opportunity to give back and make a difference in the world. And I appreciate it. And it was wonderful seeing you all today.
Yeah, Richard, I was just going to add that this has been just so wonderful that once we are past the pandemic, I would love to have Rainee come to the campus and interface with our faculty and students and share her insights here once the campus opens up.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds great. And she's located right in Magnolia, so quite convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would love to. Thank you so much.
That's excellent. Well, we'll certainly be in touch. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We had an awesome crowd today. Very good group. And Rainee, I'll be in touch with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Richard. Bye, everybody. Stay
Bye,
safe
all.
out there.